good day, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome into GarageBand Weekly for another week. Should we rename this show? It is still about GarageBand, but we do cover a plethora of topics, everything from mobile recording to desktop recording to the gear to the software to the mindset. Yeah, to the news and notes, which we'll be diving into in just a jiffy. I hope you are all doing exceptionally well and having a good old time. Yeah, we've got some pie talk going on. Pie in the chat. I'll say good day to the folks who are here live in a moment. We're going to be talking about tariffs today. I'm sorry, but it's the number one topic of everything, and it will affect you potentially and your Apple buying stuff. We're going to be talking about iOS and macOS and updates to those coming up soon. Is this current version of GarageBand iOS the buggiest ever? We'll discuss. WWDC is around the corner, and I bought a new MacBook. I'll tell you which one and why in a little jiffy. But first of all, we are going to say g'day to the folks who are here live. Hello to Dalila Verse. Hello to Thomas Christ. G'day, Joel Crouch. Hello to Jade Star Musica. Hello to Hugh Caldwell. Hello to, who else did I see there? Bon Fire. Hope you're doing well. We had a cricket player in Australia called Tomo. He was the fastest bowler in the world. He couldn't bowl straight, but he could bowl fast. That's for true. He was a very, very quick bowler. If you are here live and you do have questions, all you need to do is put, a big Q. Just a big Q in front of your question if you're here live. Hello, Deep Gravity's here as well. G'day to you, Cam. Hope you are well. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff here today, but we are here for your questions. So if you have questions, we will definitely attempt to answer them for you. News and notes. So let's dive in. Oh, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't say a big thank you to you and to everyone. I don't do the milestone stuff well, I'll be honest with you. I don't like the vanity metrics, and I really hate the whole bragging and flexing thing. But because of you fine folks, those that watch and listen to this show, and those that have supported me over the last 9 years doing this channel, we've reached 150,000 subscribers. Now, the reason that I don't throw a big party and celebrate for that is that most of them are not watching. As you can probably tell, if you're watching live or you're catching up on the replay, most folks aren't regularly watching Pete John's Studio Live Today, Your Music Live, GarageBand Weekly, all the shows that we have around here. But they have at some point dipped their toe or dipped their beak into the Studio Live Today world and watched a video, watched a tutorial, worked out how to get gunk out of the port of their iPhone, whatever it happens to be. They've decided to subscribe and not choose to unsubscribe, although I'm sure many of them have over the years as well. Thank you, Thomas Christ. I did say to Thomas in his comment on my post today, couldn't have done it without him, and I don't think I could have. I don't think we would be we would either have lots of hangers on because Thomas is the moderator with the mostest, have lots of people here just causing problems, or I wouldn't have been able to have the focus and the clarity without Thomas's wonderful moderation work. G'day to Paul too, by the way. We've got Paul O'Farrell here in the chat. Once again, any questions, please go ahead and pop them. A big fatty old Q. I don't want to body shame Qs. Qs are delightful. Qs are curvy. Qs are great. But yes, a big Q in there. So should we talk tariffs? Should we rip off the Band-Aid? So in case you've been living under a rock or, don't watch the news or don't follow the politics. I mean, I don't even think this is politics anymore. I think we're in a post-politic world where it's not just the people that care about politics and the normies. I think everyone is impacted by this stuff. So everyone's probably aware, or should at least be aware of what's happening. So if you haven't heard, look, it changes every day, and I don't even have the latest, but originally it was 34%. I think it's escalated now, and it's something like 47% or 54%. Basically, the tariffs that the current US government, let's be honest, that Donald Trump has decided to impose upon every country, including Australia, means that any imports from those countries are getting tariffed an amount. Now, let's not beat around the bush. This is not the way that you do this. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding about what balanced trade and a trade deficit actually means. There are countries that will import more from one country than they export to that country. That's just how global economies have to work. That's how global economies scale and function. And let's be honest, let's cut to the chase. Anyone who thinks that you need to have a balanced amount, and if there's less coming in, they need to be tariffed more than if there's more going out, they need to be tariffed less, that makes absolutely no sense. Otherwise, the places that produce all the coffee beans in the world, like South America, well, they're obviously exporting a whole lot more coffee than they're importing. So there's going to be a deficit there, isn't there? Same here in Australia. We produce iron ore and other things, and yeah, we're exporting a lot of that, and we're definitely importing electronics. There are very few. Rode are one of the few manufacturers in Australia that actually manufacture their electronics products in Australia. They actually have a factory. I didn't quite believe it until I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, they actually do. They actually have a factory here in Australia and produce it all here in Australia. The thing is, we do need things from around the world. As much as it would be lovely to be self-sufficient, we can't be. There's been various estimates going around about if say an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac or a mixer were like designed and made in Australia. Well, maybe not a mixer because Rode seem to be able to do it. But your high-end electronics, we're talking like the nanoscale electronics and the chips and the semiconductors, for all of that to be produced, assembled, manufactured, packaged in the US or Australia would be 3, 4 to 5 times the cost. So your $1,000 iPhone becomes your $3,000 iPhone. Your $2,000 MacBook becomes your $6,000 MacBook. So the possibilities of actually just having that manufactured in our country and then sold in our country, the whole nationalism focus of that, it doesn't make any sense. And it's very weird that the same people that want all of the fanciness, they want their European sports cars, they want their Chinese-made electronics that are high-end, yet they want it all produced in their own country and they want to be completely bigoted and racist about the rest of the world. You know it makes no sense. I know it makes no sense. But what is the impact? Well, the impact on the share market and the stock market has been quite profound. We'll talk about that in a moment. But at this point in time, very few companies have moved. So what does that mean? Does it mean it's the best time to buy stuff? Kinda. Did I buy my MacBook because I was a little concerned? Kinda. I mean, it's not Australia and China, they've got no problems. We're not imposing any tariff. We didn't even impose any retaliatory tariffs. Because let's be honest, if a country imposes retaliatory tariffs, and look, I get it. Canada, Mexico, China, they kind of had to because they were just treated very poorly and abused off the bat. They were the first cabs off the rank. But the other countries that we've been tariffed 10%, if we turned around and did a 10% tariff back to the US, Australian consumers will be the ones that pay extra. My Reese's peanut butter cups will go from $2 to $2.20 if we tariff US products. Am I buying US products at the moment? Well, that's an entirely different story. I'm choosing not to, but you choose. You do you, boo. You choose what to do. So what does this mean? Well, yeah, technically, if there is, say, a 35% or a 50% tariff imposed on everything that is imported from China, that's going to include iPhones, that's going to include Macs, MacBooks, MacBook Pros, that's going to include the vast majority of your consumer electronics, your TVs, your microwaves, your stereos. Do people still buy stereos? Refrigerators. Like there's the majority of things that are in your house right now that have microchips in them are probably made in China. Now, Apple have a couple of things that they're doing in relation to this. They've already diversified and they already produce in India and in Vietnam. So some of the iPhones and iPads and Macs are actually made and assembled in other countries, but the chips are still coming out of Taiwan or coming out of China, and it's not going to be. They can't just flick a switch and move everything. Not to mention that India and Vietnam are also being tariffed because it's a free-for-all. Everything must go. So, yeah, what does this mean for consumers? At the end of the day, all consumers will pay more. And even for me, again, I know I'm not directly impacted, but guess what? If Apple need to make up some margin because they're having to wear some costs in highly tariffed areas, what do you think's going to happen? Are they going to, add a little bit of fat? If they have to put things up, does it make sense for them to put prices up in the US by 50% and nowhere else? Or reduce prices elsewhere? No. They'll try and wear a little bit of the cost and put prices up by 30% in the US and by 10 or 15 or 20% in other jurisdictions, even if we're not directly impacted by that. So Is there anything we could do about it? Does it make no, not really. Apart from what folks in the US have been doing, which is vote with your feet, vote with your wallet, and get out there and be heard. Yeah, we don't have anywhere near the infrastructure to upscale domestic production. So we, the consumers, will get hosed. Exactly. Yeah. And it's been happening, and this is the problem. This is the problem I have when I talk to people, and they say to me, "Oh no, I don't like. I'm not buying any products that are. I don't believe in the whole Chinese economy thing. I think China are going to dominate us." It's like, well, then stop buying the stuff. You can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want your consumer electronics to be 3 times more expensive, then you're allowed to be bigoted. If you don't, then you're not. You can't just accept it and go, "Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna support the slave labor of a developing country so that I can get an $8 T-shirt, but then I'm definitely going to turn around and tell you why that country is so terrible." Well, guess what? Stop buying their stuff. Stop supporting that if that's what you think. Again, there's no perfect answer in this stuff, but yeah, it's no. Uh, yeah, the exactly. This is spot on, as Cam says. The export to import is nowhere near even, and it's not even on the same things, and it's not even at the same scale. I don't know how to say it more clearly, but that's not how global economics works, and it's really weird and really sad that we're here. Hello, I live in Portugal, Madeira Island. I work 10 months at a new car, €800 minimum wage. Is the end of the world. Is that bad? I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? It's all relative. And hopefully it's all going to be good in the world. The greatest tariff. Yeah, make the depression great again. Make the recession great again. That's what's going to be happening. All righty. We're going to move past this because we just have to. The impact on this. So just have a quick drink. The impact we've seen on the share market. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I understand the Nasdaqs and the Forexes and the trading and all the things, except that it's gone down substantially. So if you're an Apple stock owner, I'm not. I'm not a journalist, but I also don't have any conflict of interest. I like to sleep at night without having to worry about this stuff. So yes, if you look the Apple stock in the last 6 months. It's fallen off a cliff. That being said, I know doom and gloom, but like most things in life, if you zoom out, you get perspective. If you bought Apple shares a year ago, they have still gone up, believe it or not. And if you bought Apple shares 5 years ago, they've gone from $70 to $181. Sure, they were at $250 just a couple of months ago, but everything in the world. Look at this. Here's your Apple lifetime from the 2000s up to now. So yeah, there's going to be swings and there's going to be roundabouts. So the sky is falling thing. Yeah, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world as we know it. I don't feel fine, but it's not quite the end of the world as we know it. That's right. Yeah, get out there, buy low, sell high, and don't forget that the stock market is kind of BS because it used to be related to the actual goods and services that a company could sell. Now, a lot of your stock is actually based on the value an investor thinks they can sell that stock for. So we're seeing things like, in particular, the Tesla stock, they're what's called a meme stock. So they're worth tens, if not hundreds of times the actual value of the products and services that they sell, meaning that the money doesn't actually exist. It exists digitally and in the minds and hearts and souls and dreams of investment bros who want to make big bank and wear suspenders and go buy pork, sell stuff. I don't know. I've still got the view of like the 80s, like Wall Street. It's like greed is good. Yeah, maybe. All right, let's continue off. Yes, it's the end of the world as we know it. Maybe I need to do an end of the world happy hour this week just to make us all feel good. Good call, Hugo. Yeah, exactly. Facts, not feelings. It's based on feeling. It's the vibe of the thing. It's like this whole new vibe coding thing. Have we talked enough about politics and economies? Yes, we have. Let's talk about things that are more musically related, shall we? iOS 18.4, macOS 15.4. I'm updated across the board now, please tell me if you're watching here live or if you're catching up on the replay. Then you do let me know if you've had any issues and pass it on. The good thing about these communities is when things don't work and when there's issues with particular apps, the community is pretty quick to jump on them and to share that information. So if you're using something and you've found that it's not working, or you've updated and you've had some particular problem, then pass it on, let folks know. And look, my advice remains the same. I have been very consistent with advising that if you are in the middle of a big major project, finish your project. Like, you don't need to find out that that one app that you were relying on to have that song sound exactly the way you wanted it to suddenly doesn't work in the new iOS version. So please, for the love of your deity of choice, yeah, just update once you've finished any major projects. But again, in my experience, and I've updated 2 iPhones, 2 iPads, and a Mac to the latest versions, I haven't had any issues. Touch wood. Drink beer. Didn't we decide on the happy hour that instead of touch wood, it should be drink beer or your tipple of choice? Yeah, I think so. Oh no, $5 in Bitcoin and now it's $3.46. Yeah. I mean, is it hard to not have Schadenfreude for all of the people that are not good people that are losing money? I mean, it's a little bit funny. It's when the 1%, the people, oh no, my 10 billion, I've only got 7 billion now. What to do? G'day, Phil Goad, and your wonderful portrait there. Thanks for being here. All right, GarageBand iOS. I've done 2 videos in the last couple of weeks. One is this one here, which is about the automation bug in iOS, which if you haven't come across it, that's good. But when you're doing fade-ins and fade-outs, quite often the automation won't work. It'll just go straight from 0 volume to full volume. And the hack there is to put a dot in the middle. Dear oh dear, I'm choking on my own rage here. To put a dot in the middle between the 2 points, and then it will nicely go up. So there's some sort of issue causing that. The other bug that I'd reported, I've forgotten about now. What was that? Oh, that was the moving bug. Have you come across this? Have you come across the moving bug? Again, if you've been using GarageBand, I've had a bunch of emails about it, so I did a video on it. So you might be aware that, you're scrolling around here in GarageBand and, you tap up here, but sometimes you want to move your cursor to put it right on its spot. So I want to put this right on the ninth bar there, but every time I get close to the middle, it auto scrolls, which is absolutely useless. So this is a current bug, and there's been a lot of bugs in this current version, and I'm a little concerned because I'm a bit worried that I don't mind. Here's the thing. I don't mind if GarageBand doesn't get updates. I don't think it's going to get significant feature updates. It'll get the sound packs, sure, but I think they've kind of finished with GarageBand. But I'm a little worried that these little glitches and bugs are creeping into the code now. I'm not quite sure that they changed nothing, they add no new features, and new bugs arrive. Again, I'm no coder, and I don't know all the details of this. I'm sure there's more complicated explanations to this, but surely there's not some setting that someone accidentally turned on that's like, oh yeah, you know how it used to only scroll when you got this far to the side of the screen? How about now, as soon as you get more than 10% either left or right, it starts scrolling left or right? So yeah, a little worried that the development focus and time into GarageBand iOS might be less than it was. And look, it has to be because Logic Pro for iPad is here now, and there's a lot of development, a lot of bug fixes going into Logic Pro. So maybe GarageBand is now the poor cousin, but we can hope that we get those fixed. And by the way, folks, what's the best way? Well, it's to watch the videos that I put out there to show you workarounds, and then it's to report the bugs. Yes, go to the Apple Bug Report and actually report them. Yeah, because if a bunch of us do it, they actually do look at that. I know you might be thinking, oh, a big corporation not care me think. Big corporation do care you think because they want you to keep buying. And you might think, well, GarageBand's free. Yeah, but if you stop using GarageBand and stop using Logic Pro, maybe your next MacBook is actually a Windows PC. Or maybe your next iPhone is a Galaxy. That's what they want to avoid. So you do have a little bit of power. It's like the old day. I know. I was watching TV on the weekend. By the way, this show goes off on tangents. If you didn't know, the reason at the start I said, yeah, this is called GarageBand Weekly, but it could just be called Meat Pie Weekly, whatever. The reason is we go off on tangents, which I kind of enjoy. I like just having a bit of a chat and a meandering discussion on this show. But I was watching TV and I just had this flashback because the TV was crystal clear and it was perfect quality. And I changed the channel and it tuned into the next channel perfectly without any interference, without any distortion. And I went, wait, at one point in time, I twiddled rabbit ears for the last time. I adjusted tracking for the last time. I turned that VHF, what is it, UHF knob for the last time to tune in my TV. I stood in a certain spot in the lounge room on one leg, as Fiona said, to get the reception that I needed. Because sometimes, do you ever find that? Sometimes you were like, there was a weird thing that if you stood in a certain place, you were like a conduit. And something was happening where it's like, oh, the reception's going through me, but I have to watch it standing on this side of the lounge room. So yeah, I think we are kind of spoilt these days, and me complaining about these couple of tiny bugs while I use my phone to record a 32-track song using my guitars and microphones, and then add an infinite number of plugins to them. Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit rich that we complain about a lot of things. Oh yeah, the aluminium foil out. Yes, if you're not making a hat, you can use it to adjust your rabbit ears. And I remember there were like those as seen on TV things where it's like the super antenna. Forget your outdoor antennas, use this one. And it was like a thing, and it had like a gain knob on there, and you'd set it up and dial it in and plug it in, and be like, "Yep, it's garbage, hot garbage." I'll be a conflict in code. It'll be a conflict in code between the new and old updates. It's amazing how such small things affect something totally. Yeah, look, in the small amount of coding that I've done, quick drink, small amount of coding I've done, yeah, I do realize that one little routine, it's like a spreadsheet. If you've ever had a spreadsheet that like calculates something and it works perfectly, and then you give it to someone that doesn't really understand that if you just like highlight and delete and shift cells up or down or left or right, and you've got all these cell references, and then suddenly it just goes do 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 do. I've got nightmares about that hash ref that would go into a cell when someone changed something. And I say someone because it usually wasn't me. I mean, sometimes it was me. Exactly. You can use GarageBand and you don't have to pay for it. It's free, quote unquote free. If you've got an iOS device, it's free. And let's be honest, you can pick up a cheap iPhone or iPad or Mac these days for a few $100s. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal, I say. So yeah, buggy. WWDC's around the corner. I've thrown a link in the description below. This is the Mac rumors of what they think's coming and the expected announcements. So iPad OS and iOS 19. Almost a no-brainer because we get the updated version we get it announced. We're told about it at WWDC and it usually drops. So that's June. It usually doesn't drop though till later in the year. So they do the beta testing of 19 and then we usually get it around the time of iPhone launch, which is going to be in September because it always is. Maybe one year they'll surprise us. macOS 16, again, the next update. watchOS 12, tvOS 19. They're up to 19 in that one. I think it's because they just followed the iOS trend. Vision OS 3 for the 1% of the population, 0.1% that bought a nerd helmet, and the Mac Studio. So we are finally expecting the Mac Studio to get the M4 because weirdly it's the highest end Mac and it's the only one that doesn't have the M4 now, which is a little bit weird. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? So look, what is WWDC? Well, they have their big keynote speech. They announce all the major updates and major changes, and the rest of it is for developers. It's called a developer conference after all. So there's not a lot consumer facing that they'll talk about that any of us need to know about. But it's a thing. It'll happen, and they'll tell us about things. The final bit of news and notes is on the personal side, and that is that I got myself a new MacBook. I got the Space Black. Is that what it's called? Look, it's black adjacent. It's not black. It's like It's slightly darker grey than the old space grey models that we had, but I wanted the black one, and I decided to get the MacBook Pro. I was waiting for the MacBook Air, and then I decided to get the Pro, and I've got a video coming out tomorrow telling you the reasons why I went for the MacBook Pro. And by the way, why do I need a MacBook as well as a Mac Studio? For stuff on the go. I want to be able to do live streams from other places where I don't have to be behind a green screen. I want to be out and about. I want to do my happy hour from my backyard or from the park down the road or from a different venue. So I want to be able to start doing that again. I did it a while back when I had a MacBook on loan from Apple. It all worked really well. And I like being in the Mac ecosystem. And you can call me an Apple fan person and an Apple apologist and whatever, but it just works and it makes it a heck of a lot easier to have all of my files and all of my things structured exactly the same way everywhere. It just means that I can run my business wherever I am. Yeah, it is more of a gun metal grey, but it is definitely a nice, slick looking machine. And if you want the quick version, the short version of why I went for that over the Air is slightly bigger screen, slightly bigger and more powerful battery, has a fan in it, so if I'm rendering video or if I'm doing something complex, it'll actually be able to support that because the fan can kick in. It's got an HDMI port and it's got an extra Thunderbolt port. So definitely, and the screen is slightly bigger but also brighter. It's got that higher what is it? XDR 1000 nits of nitty goodness. Yeah, it'll be my go-to. But yeah, again, I was going to go the MacBook Air, and look, if you want a consumer device, I still think the MacBook Air is numero uno. I don't think there's any better value than the MacBook Air entry level for what, $999 US. But as soon as I upgraded to that terabyte of storage, which I had to do because anything less than a terabyte, I think, on a Mac these days is just asking for not necessarily trouble, but inconvenience, then yeah. Yep. I was using Logic Pro for 15 years. I love the iPad GarageBand with a mouse, HDMI, TV, Magic. Yeah, Magic Keyboard. Absolutely. It works a treat, doesn't it? Alrighty, let us go into. I'll make sure that all those notes are there in the chat, and we will open up to questions. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I've got a few topics that I'm going to cover here. If there's no questions from the folks who are here live, I've had these topics carrying over for like the last 3 weeks because every week we get lots and lots of questions. We get questions. We get questions. We are going to run an ad that is going to appear for some of you right now. Hopefully you're getting an ad about something cool and not some crypto bro or some course launch. It's like, oh, what's that MIDI plugin one that there was for a while? It's like, download all of these great MIDI patterns and import them into your DAW, all for just $27. All of those, I'll tell you a quick story before we get into it. So have you seen the course launches? Do you know about this? So you've probably either seen them or been part of them. They use what's called a lead magnet and a sales funnel. So have you ever been on someone's YouTube channel and they're like, oh, and download my 2-page PDF mixing guide or my quick guide to EQ, my PDF guide. But to download that, you need to, of course, do what? Provide an email address. And then you go to their sales funnel where you get the email that's like, oh, now that you've got the PDF, if you'd like the full version of this, I've got a deal for you. It's normally valued at $1,279, but for this week only, it's $47. And then you don't do anything, and then the next day you get another email saying, ho, 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 you're a cagey one. What about $27? You're like, nah. And it's like, oh, well, okay, last offer, $7. It's a 10,000% discount. And you're like, oh, for $7, I can't lose. And what that is, so the first thing is a lead magnet. The second thing is like the small purchase. And the small purchase says, we got a live one here. It's like microtransactions. You know, when you're playing a game and it's like, the first thing is like a 99-cent thing that gives you this massive bundle of extras. And you're like, wow. That's designed specifically to give you overvalue your first purchase so that when they start charging you regular amounts, you kind of don't feel it as much. It's why when you join up to like Uber or DoorDash or something, you'll get like 50% off your first 3 orders. And you're like, this is the best thing ever. And then you're like, well, I got my credit card attached now. It was really easy to do. So I guess I'll just use that forever and pay the full price. So I say all of that. Yeah, and the offer only lasts the 24 hours. So do that. Yeah, act now. Act now. Act now. Yeah. But then it doesn't. It doesn't. Answer, download PDF file and immediately unsub. Yeah, so there you go. If you want the stuff, yeah, you download and then you'll get the first welcome email. And by law, by the Spam Act, they have to have an unsubscribe button at the bottom. Just unsubscribe. But I don't know. Is that bad? Is that bad? Oh no, Deep Gravity got a political ad. Yeah, that's not surprising. By the way, we're going off on tangent upon tangent. It's like layer upon layer. It's tangent upon tangent. What was my point on the whole false scarcity thing? Yeah, it was about sales funnels and things. Anyway, yeah, you will get. So if you're in Australia right now, you'll probably get political ads everywhere. My letterbox, which is usually like a cavernous void, because the only snail mail I get these days is packages. And that's Amazon, and they knock on the door, or they don't. Quite often, you know what they do now? Again, tangent upon tangent. Anyone else have this problem? Amazon will deliver something, well, not Amazon, but the contractor that Amazon only pays a small amount, doesn't have to give health insurance or any sort of coverage or pay for petrol or anything. Anyway, the person that Amazon are exploiting to deliver your package just comes, chucks your package on your doorstep, takes a photo and buggers off. They don't ring the doorbell. They make no effort to see if anyone's home, because all they have to do is prove with a photo that they've delivered your product. Yeah, I've told you this before, I know. But one time they did that, took the photo, buggered off, didn't ring the doorbell. We were home. 10 minutes later, lady gets out of car, steals package, buggers off back to Salisbury, and we don't get our stuff. All they had to do was press a button. And I don't know, maybe you can tell me, and maybe I'm victim blaming here, but is it because they don't want to talk to the person? Is it because they don't want to have a conversation, or they don't want the person to ask them any questions or have any follow-up stuff, or are they so rushed they have to get back to their car to pee in their bottle, so they're busting, so that's fair enough? I don't know. I don't know who to blame on this stuff, except that I've had maybe 10 deliveries in the last month. I reckon one of them's rung the doorbell. All the rest have just left it, ditched it, and ran. Unacceptable. Yeah, Australia's turn now. Do better than we did, please. I hope, Thomas. I hope we heed the warnings. And look, I know we don't have a your guy, but we got a guy that very much would like about as much power as your guy. So yeah, hopefully Australia thinks about it and realizes what they need to do. Yes, Jade. He has a certain look, doesn't he? I know. Talking to people is the worst. She would have been for Elizabeth. Isn't it funny? You always think the person. So people in Prospect think that Salisbury people are feral. If you're in Salisbury, you say Elizabeth people are feral. If you're in Elizabeth, you say Manapara. If you're in Manapara, you say Gawler. If you're in Gawler, you say what? Kadina. If you're in Kadina, you say Alice Springs. If you're in Alice Springs, you say Darwin. Okay. Timu Trump. Yeah, he's a cut down version. He's the discount model. Oh yeah, but no, it's funny, isn't it? And what do they say? It's similar to that thing where they say that your morals are usually one step over what you yourself would do. So it's funny. You're just like, oh, I can't believe these people that do this thing because I don't do that. But, cheating on my taxes is okay, because who's that? That's only the government that you're taking from. So it's like, oh, I'll take a chocolate bar from the supermarket, but I wouldn't, rob a bank at gunpoint. It's like, yeah, okay. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Our morality is always just that one step behind the worst thing that we'll do. And then as soon as it's over that step, we judge everyone else based on those same morals. Oh, hello, Mark. Mark, I was going to say, Mark, can you be sensible and put us back on track, because we're not talking about anything related to Apple or GarageBand. Oh, we have. Come on, we have. It's all related. My auntie's in St Kilda, SA, nothing bad there. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a bit worried. A bit like how Austria have to have a special desk at their airport explaining to people that accidentally went there instead of Australia. It's a bit like St Kilda, or when the Hilton Hotel. There's a suburb here in Adelaide called Hilton, and there's a Hilton Hotel. The amount of people that must have got to the airport and gone, Hilton Hotel, please. And they rock up there and they're like, oh no. But yeah, we have a St Kilda here in South Australia. And let's just say our suburb of St Kilda isn't the beachy, richy, hippie suburb that St Kilda in Victoria is. It's a little different. My train left the track a long time ago. Yeah. I think I saw a question. A question from Paul. Let's get back to talking Apple and GarageBand. Trying to reset my Apple account, but if asking for the password for a device that doesn't exist, my other Mac, but I've only got one, what should I do? Huh. Yeah. So recovery can be hard with Apple stuff, depending what you have in there. If there's not another option, you probably have to talk to a human. I know, I'm sorry, but you probably have to talk to a person. Apple support are actually pretty good. You can usually get hold of someone on the phone or even on chat. If you go to a Mac, if you go to an Apple store, if you've got an Apple store nearby, the Genius bar is good. You can make an appointment with them if you don't want to be sitting around for a particular time, or you can just rock up and do that. But yeah, they should be able to help you. They got some magic stuff they can do behind the scenes. So the data that you've provided to them that for your recovery is one thing, but they've obviously got a whole bunch of other data that they can dive into, such as your address, your payment history, things you've purchased in the past, things like that. So there'll be ways that you can prove your identity, assuming you are really the real Paul O'Farrell, then you should be fine. In fact, let's do a quick test here. Since we have time and since I keep going off track, Apple ID reset help. Let's just Google that and see where we get to. All right. So let's see what Apple say about this. If you've forgotten your how to reset it, easiest way is with your phone or other trusted devices if it's already signed in. Yeah, so if you've got anything signed in, you can reset your password on the web when you don't have a trusted device. You can sign in with the same email address, reset your Apple account on your phone. So if you're logged in on your phone, you can reset it there if you're already actually logged in. So basically, I'm assuming you're not logged into this account on any Apple device right now. Otherwise, you can go to that device and do it. The Apple Support app on a borrowed device. So if you don't have it, you can actually get the Apple Support app on an iPad or an iPhone of someone else's. You can do it on the web if you regain it and need more help. Tell us more what's happening. We'll suggest what you can do. So if we go to the Get Suggestions, this is because I don't want to just, give you their phone number, but they'll usually do that. So it's going to be personalized for me here, but you can actually sign in and view your products. You can choose the products that you have, or you can tell them what you need. And if you go support activity, I've got to sign in to do it. Which is a problem. But basically, if you keep pushing, you just keep pushing through, and eventually you hit a page where it's like, okay, if you'd like to contact Apple support, you can phone us here, or you can go here, and we'll help you out with it. So it's where there's a will, there's a way. I haven't done this with Apple, but my dad had this problem with Netflix. Someone had his Netflix password, logged in, changed everything, and including the recovery email. And there wasn't much he can do, except he had to call Netflix. I made sure that he called the Netflix number. Don't go to Google. For the love of your native choice, don't go to Google and search Apple support and just click the first number you see. It'll probably be someone that's squatting on that and that's going to tell you the wrong thing. And we found Netflix support numbers that would have just made the situation much, much worse. So yeah, but if you get through, let us know. Share your story of how it goes, because I've known people that have had the same problem and they get through it. So yeah, they'll ask you questions that only you can know about your history or about your devices, and yeah, usually the key one is payment method. So the way Dad got out of it is because he was still paying. Because funnily enough, they went in and they changed everything except the credit card. So what Dad had to do with his Netflix is actually call and provide details of the credit card, which in itself is a bit skeevy and dodgy because you don't really want to have to give out your credit card details over the phone. But once we'd confirmed that he was indeed talking with the real Netflix, then I said, "Yep, look, you're safe to do this now to give your details over the phone." So if you've had a payment method attached to it, that can be one way that you can verify that it really is you. Thomas says my experience with Apple have been generally very positive, except last time I went to the Apple Store and got shuffled around to 3 different people and ultimately told I just need a new phone. Yeah, look, that can be. Yes, for the love of your deity of choice. I know. I like that because for the love of God assumes that you believe in God. Not all of us do. But you might have a deity that you choose. You might choose to worship Buddha or to worship your iPad. I don't know. Is that blasphemous to go with? Yeah, exactly. We love a good story. So tell us how you get on with that. But yeah, look, I had the same thing too, Thomas. I've had probably 90% positive. There was one time where I had to fight and fight and fight and fight, and eventually they just said nah. So they do put their foot down eventually. Quite often they'll just wear it. But yeah, sometimes it's a bit of an uphill battle. One time I needed a battery replaced, and I'd actually had it replaced less than 2 years earlier, and I was showing what was happening, which is that I was in there and the phone's battery was literally draining before our eyes, and I was talking to the very lovely and attempting to help genius, and she was like, "Oh, no, no, no. I've gone in here and I've seen that it's because you use this app called Pokemon Go that's draining your battery." And I'm like, "Yes, okay, I get that. And you're right, that does drain my battery. But look, I've not used that. And look what's happening right now. Nothing is running and the battery is just draining in front of our eyes. Something is wrong with that." And it was that thing where she kept going back to the script, and I said, "No, forget script, forget your training. Just use common sense. Just look at this. Hold these two phones up and see how one's going 91, 90, 89 without me doing anything. That is not normal." And then by the end of the conversation, it was at 30%. And I'm like, "I walked in and this was at 100%. It is now 30%. There is something wrong with this battery. We have not been doing anything with this phone. You ran 2 diagnostic tests, and that used 70% of its battery that was replaced less than 2 years ago." So, no, eventually it got replaced. I just had to be a little. And look, I don't do the whole, "Don't you know who I am? I'm a YouTuber and I talk about Apple and I could go online and tell everyone how bad you are." No, I don't do that because I don't like that. I don't like people that do that. People used to do that to me. I used to work in the energy industry on the phones in a call center, and the people that would say, "Oh, this phone call's taken me an hour, and I'm a high-powered lawyer, and I charge $200 an hour, so I should be billing you for $200." Man, I wish I could have said what I wanted to say back then. I was just like, "No, in fact, you sound like a giant dickhead, so if anything, I'm just going to go into your bill and add more to it." Couldn't do that, didn't do that. I just said, "Sorry to hear that. Here's the facts." And no, not having a bar of it. The worst ones were the ones who had teenage children, and you just knew that the kids were like running space heaters and air conditioners and other nefarious items in their room like 24/7. It's like, maybe you should go talk to your son Derek. You know how Derek has always got big wads of cash? Why don't you go and open Derek's closet and just see if there's anything in there that, oh, I don't know, might be using a lot of high powered lighting or heating or something. Bloody Derek. Oh man. All right, we're getting off track again. Um, well, that's the thing. I would if someone gets cocky, like I would if I could. I'd make them wait longer. I'd be like, "Nah, you're not a gift. You're just you don't even have a real job. You're not adding value to society. You're just saying like, comment, subscribe." And it does. It really does end up. Which genius you get makes a big difference. Yeah, and that's my problem too. "Don't you know who I am?" They wouldn't know who I am. They really wouldn't. Oh, sad you look when you get a genius. Always turn it up. Or how sad you look when you get a genius. Always turn it up. Yeah. Yes, it can be sad. Yeah, growing green in his closet kind of guy. Exactly. If I'm ever on the phone at work, I always give a fake name. Yeah. So again, let me say, do as I say, not as I do. But while we're on the topic of this sort of thing, and hey, you know what? We're not going to get to those topics again today because I just enjoy having a yarn and telling some stories. But I've been on this battle with all of these scam calls at the moment, and I've been called 35 times from a company called Unique Offers, and they're a comparator or what do they call? Yeah, comparator website. Not even a website because they don't have a website because I've asked them their website and they won't give it to me. But they will call me and they will say, "Oh, Peter, is that you?" I'm like, "Yes, it is. Hello, Unique Offers." And they're like, "Oh, how did you know it was me?" I'm like, "Long story. Anyway, what do you want?" And they're like, "Oh, have you heard about the recent changes to energy?" And I'm like, "I have from you many times." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, what energy company are you with? AGL or Energy Australia?" And I'm like, "Yes." So I'm not helpful at all. But yeah, eventually we get to it. And what they're trying to do, see, if you get these calls from these third party companies, they're paid by every company. It's kind of a dodge. And I know about this because I used to work in the industry, but they're paid by all the different companies to act, they're aggregators. So they basically go and they switch you from this company to this company. And then if they get a sale for, say, AGL, then they go to AGL. And even if you're already with that company, just by swapping you to their product, they get more money. And it's like, really? That's just it's weird. It seems weird. It is weird. It's dodgy. Yes, unique offers. No offer is ever the same price. Yeah. So yesterday I get the call, see, and it's like, "Hi, it's Spa," and I'm like, "Hi, unique offers." And he's like, Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, I'm calling for this," and I'm like, "Do you know that this is the 35th time that your company has called me?" And I said, "And not you personally, but your company." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." I said, "Yeah, look, it's not your fault, mate. But I think you work for a terrible company. I think maybe you need to take a look at what you're doing and see if you can get a job working for someone better because I think that what your company's doing is pretty dodgy. So I'll let you go because you've probably got other people to call. But yeah, I think you should maybe consider and see if there's a better company that you can work for." And at the end, he's like, "Okay, sir. Thank you. Bye." Yeah, I know. And the funny thing is, I've asked to be removed from it, and now I don't want to ask to be removed from it because it's kind of fun. So it's like, depending what mood I'm in, sometimes I'll just try and spend 15 minutes with them because once you get through the first person, you get put through to who's called the closer because there's openers and closers with these scammy calls. And so once you get through to the closer, oh, then it's game on because then they start asking you information. So I'm suddenly a pensioner and I suddenly live at Manapara and I do have solar panels, but then my solar panels fell off last week. And do they know any good solar panel repair shops that I can call? It can get fun. So again, I don't encourage you to give incorrect information or data to people, but yeah, it can be fun to do that sometimes. Yeah. They've they've been around for thousands of years, but they were unique offers back then. But there you go. I used to work for a call center for non-profits. I heard that a lot. Do you know how many times you called me? Yeah. And I know how many times these people have been called because, yeah, I used to work in the industry as well. So I was part of the problem, which is why I'm now trying to be part of the solution, which is that it's 2025, people. Don't accept any offers that you get through an outbound phone call. They're not magic. They don't have access to anything that you can't get yourself. So if someone calls you and says, "Hey, I'm from blah, we have a great deal," say, "Thanks for letting me know. I'll call them myself and check on that deal later when I have the time." Because these people never ask you the time. These people. Sorry, that sounded really bad. The people who are exploited by being made to work in these horrible conditions for these bad companies. Oh, that's a dog. I'm like, what am I hearing in the background? I'm hearing hooping and hollering, which means we must be coming towards the end of the show. Did we actually have any questions? We talked to Paul about his question. We will return and talk about other things at a later stage. What was my? Oh yes, we're talking elections. We weren't really. We were talking about the results and surveys that you get political surveys. And let's just say there was one particular survey that kind of ground my gears because it asked a sort of leading question and then it asked my gender. And it said, "What gender are you?" Press 1 for male and press 2 for female. There wasn't a prefer not to say. There wasn't a non binary. There wasn't anything else I could say. So, because they gave me incorrect information to choose from, I chose incorrect information. I was a 65-year-old female, and I was definitely not going to vote for the company that were clearly commissioning the survey that I was answering. So, am I telling you to provide incorrect information to people who call you and ask you survey questions? No, I'm not. And this is for entertainment purposes only, because, of course, in reality, this is just a story. And I actually provided perfectly accurate information and always do to everyone that always contacts me. Yeah, it's unique. I know. Maybe it is unique offers at the door. They're like, "Johns, we know where you live." Yeah. So, yeah, then they asked me about nuclear power, and I immediately knew who they were working for, which is disingenuous in itself. Anyone that calls you, and again, like you can say, well, two wrongs don't make a right. Yes, they do, Lisa. But yeah, you can say two wrongs don't make a right, but seriously, if you're going to say, "Oh, we're just conducting," that's the other thing. When you get a sales call and they start by saying, "Oh, we're just conducting a survey." I'm like, is the survey, are you dumb enough to think this is actually a survey and then ends up being a sale call? That's a good question to ask. And they're like, no, no. Thank you, Hugo. You are good too. All right, the dogs are barking. I know dogs are talking. So we are going to finish up early there. If you came here for GarageBand advice and for GarageBand related content, I apologise. We talked a little bit about Apple stuff. We talked a little bit about creating. And if you are watching on the replay of this very show, you can go ahead and leave your comments and leave your questions. I'm always hanging out down there in the comments section. So until next time, folks. Oh, by the way, I haven't set up the dump. Let's do this one final thing because guess who's already started with his show? It's our mate Frank Terzo and his Community Pulse show. Yeah, because of the time zone changes, things cross over. So who has he got on the show today? He has got Rainfield Music and his mate JJ Folk Punk. Looks like he is actually the co-host. So jump on over there and check out Frank and the crew. They look like they're having a good old time there. So I'm going to update this so that you get dumped over there if you give me one moment. Yeah, if you do have any other questions to part with here, please do let me know while I go back to YouTube Studio and set this up. I like a true pro. This poor show, all my other shows are like well-oiled machines compared to GarageBand Weekly. But guess what one I have the most fun with each and every week? Yeah, it's this one. All right, so we're going to set you up here to go over. Tell Frank that I say g'day and go and check out some cool stuff with the community. There you go. We've already been beaten to the link by a couple of fine folks there that you can go over and check that out. Yes, this is the final time change until daylight saving hits us again. So whatever time it is for you now, that's the time it's going to be. All right, that's going to do it for this one, folks. Please be kind to yourself this week. Don't fall for any scams. Stay safe out there, but resist where you need to. Fight the power where you need to, but do it in a safe way and look out for people. And as we say at the end of each and every show, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.